Next cover on the face. 1 minute. Swara में भी center. एक मिनट नीट बस मिल गया हाथों में. Swara मैम लोग क्या center? मैम यार. हो गया 1 मिनट. इधर उनकी फोटो ले लो. ज़्यादा काम हो गया. कम. अजय मीना तेरे को. And then the mention. Yeah, left side. Just let me know. Thank you. हाँ. चलो. अंजुम. नहीं रे. नहीं नहीं. Okay. And now we are going to join. Come. Okay. Can we take some with all of us? Yeah. Come on.
This is our superstar now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very interesting and a very sort of energetic and difficult mix.
Difficult being cooperative word.
Each one of them has actually responded with great courage, I would say, in taking up the kind of themes that they have done. All the themes that they have taken up are today very socially relevant. They're connected with the kind of transition that we find our society going through, tapping into the turmoil, tapping into the underlying tensions, and bringing them out in the form of good storytelling, which is the effective way that an artist can actually respond to what is going on around us. So let me introduce each one of them to you. First we have Leila. So serious and intense issues that we find facing young women in our society, and it's quite a saga of this girl as she battles through all these things to come out. That's Leila. Then you have Mukti.
Just a minute. Is the sound okay?
Okay. And she came up with an extremely sweet story. आपका फोन हो जाए तो जरा बता दीजिएगा तो भैया हम लोग फिर बातें आगे शुरू करते हैं. नहीं तो फिर रुकते हैं हम लोग. Mukti wrote a very sweet story, once again about the struggles of a single person and the kind of challenges that she goes through in the quest for fulfillment in a relationship, but without losing her independence and her dignity. Wonderful work, Mukti. Thank you. And we have Anand Sachdev. Anand also approached it. See, it wasn't, I mean, there's this misnomer that only men can write, male characters well or write stories which have a certain quality of masculinity. Likewise, vice versa, that it can't be sort of prejudicially assumed that men cannot write sensitive or even sort of real woman characters. I mean, you do have all these four here who are here, all the three men that we have written extremely sensitively, very believable and very appealing women characters. So he's taken the story of a young girl and her struggle against certain prejudices which are prevalent in her family itself, and how she takes on a challenge and eventually manages to come out on top. I mean, she might lose the battle, but she wins the war. Am I right? Yeah. Okay, that's Anand Sachdev for you. And Mr. Padi. He's one of our favorites here. Okay. Once again, story of a young kid, 9 years old. Okay. I mean, generally one would wonder, I mean, where is it that gender issues come up with children so young? Oh, you will be extremely surprised that the kind of prejudices, the kind of social constructs, particularly in the gender field, that even young children have inherited. And that is what Satyajit was exploring. That even at the age of 9, when this girl is struggling, she still comes up against obstacles which are to do with her gender. Very sensitively done, very sort of intense, very moving, very disturbing, but very, very appealing. So that's Satyajit. Shrikant, I'm so sorry, I'm very sorry. Shrikant Bhatti, I'm sorry, I'm growing old now. And yeah. This is our man from Fulton. Wasim Manek, okay, already a talented writer. I mean, he's written blogs, he's written travel diaries, etc., which have really wowed people, and they've travelled extensively on the social media and through emails, etc., from people who read it and appreciated it. And he came up with the story of a Muslim woman, okay, also the struggles within marriage, and how she continues to hold on not just to her hope for fulfillment, but without compromising her dignity in the process. Eventually coming out on top in a very believable way. Okay, and very movingly done. I mean, obviously he knows the terrain, which is the wonderful thing about all these writers. This is the difference between today's writers and perhaps the writers of my generation and earlier, that we were a little hesitant to actually anchor our characters in an identifiable social milieu, giving it a particularity. Okay, this is this particular subculture that we are talking about. And then you write about it in such a way that, of course, it is universal, it sort of appeals pan-Indian. We were hesitant to do that, and which is why there was this no-no land in which we used to set our stories. These kids, I mean, they are very much of the soil, regardless of which milieu they themselves may come from. The fact is that when they're researching their characters, they become familiar with that, become knowledgeable about it, and write with a certain authority. You read their stories, you feel they've been there, actually. Okay, and in their imagination they have. So there is a certain palpable feeling of reality being expressed in a creative way, which I feel is the storytelling of today, and these are the people who are leading them. So thank you very much for seeing the story also. And we this time also happen to have a superstar amidst us. Yeah, she's also one of our absolute favorites here, and it's remarkable. I mean, it bears to be said, much as it's going to embarrass her, that yeah, she's a very well-known actress now, actor as we call it, okay, and yes, recognized and much sought after, and yet a creative honesty, that when she was taking up this particular story, she was absolutely applying as an ordinary candidate, nary using her sort of formidable star charisma status. No, anyway, so jokes aside, come down to this, that what people don't know about Swara is that she's also a talented writer, like these people. And she has all the sort of wherewithal, as we say, which means essentially a certain humility to submit oneself to the story and start from a position that it is going to be discovery, which means I don't know where this story is headed, but I do know that this character is facing an interesting situation as a woman. And she continued to pursue it. It took several drafts, I happen to know that, several struggles, several times going wrong, arguing, and yet she arduously pursued that thing, and it's come out into a good story which we hope will be made into a good film, and which we are of course hoping with fingers crossed that Swara herself will agree to star in it.
I love that.
Swara, Bhaskar, and yeah, one lady who isn't here, who also has a formidable background. She is Rohini Mohan. She is a very, very good journalist, very brave, very courageous. She wrote a very sort of widely read and widely appreciated book on the whole Sri Lankan strife between the Tamil quest for sort of freedom and the Sinhala tensions which were there, and the kind of complex and unfortunate sort of scenarios and consequences which unfolded for the younger children. So she took the story of a young woman, okay, and her whole journey, which is quite a saga. Through that personal story, we actually get a sense of what really happened in Sri Lanka in that period of history which was so turmoil-ridden, and which, once again, I am drawing attention to the fact that all these people have taken very personal stories and have been unafraid to write them in that personal space of the characters, and yet through that you get a sense of what really are the kind of upheavals and some of them cataclysmic ones which characters have been facing. And so really brave writing from Rohini, and very authoritative writing, because Rohini actually lived through those terrible times, in Sri Lanka, and has managed to capture it in the form of a very touching story, very moving, disturbing, but yeah, very gripping story. So I hope she was here. I wish she was here, but wishing her all the best anyway.